It's Way Up with Angela Yee. Oh, let's get into it. One of my favorite things to talk about with my favorite couple to talk about it with. Egypt and Mike Jackson are here with me today.
Yes, we are.
Hey, hey.
And congratulations on a season 4 of Married to Real Estate, a number 1 show on HGTV, by the way.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
If you love it, then you need to support it and let folks know.
Facts.
Yes.
Because there's rumors out there right now. There's, TV, terrestrial television as a whole is going through some problems where they're losing viewership to online.
Right.
And so many networks are losing viewership, and as a result, it's leaving just the audience that does not watch YouTube and does not stay on social. So the average age of those who watch terrestrial television is a lot higher now. It's like 60 and 70-year-olds.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
And so as a result, the folks that you're seeing on TV or the shows that are staying are the ones they like.
Right. Man, but, I feel like you guys have a show that can span like many different age ranges too, because I can see that happening. But you're right, because I see like we know the younger generation, they're not watching TV the same way that we did.
They call it cutting the
moving.
cord. The younger generation,
Yeah.
Generation G, they're like, we don't even own cable. You know what I mean? Everything they do is streaming from their phone or their laptop. So we're very intentional about getting out and making sure we touch that audience.
Right.
That's one of the reasons we created the podcast, to make sure we're not just stuck in a box to where a certain age group will only focus on us, right? And a certain demographic or a certain race.
Yeah.
So we make sure we reach out.
You know what I think is good that you guys have this Marriage and Money podcast as well. And that kind of also ties back into the show and supplements what you have going on there.
It's therapy.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, y'all give up a lot of yourselves. Like, let's talk about some of the things that I didn't know. There was one episode where you were talking about Mike's divorce and his marriage, like, before you guys.
Oh, you really watched? Because that one was like hidden in. We didn't even do a promo for that.
We just did it.
But it was like hidden in the episode.
No, but and that was the first time you guys had kind of discussed like the trauma from other relationships, both of you, because Egypt, you were like, I don't never want to be in a relationship again after this. I'm just going to focus on.
Yeah. Well, look, at the end of the day, we all got history. When Mike and I met, you were 2 years out of a marriage at that point with a small baby.
Right.
And she's my baby. She's she's our eldest. She's my baby. But I was like, I prayed for X, Y, and Z, but it doesn't necessarily, what we want doesn't necessarily come in a pretty box with a bow on it sometimes. We can have our laundry lists as women or what we're looking for. But then when somebody comes in our life, maybe, and I had my list of like, I don't want him to have any kids, and I don't want him to have been married, and just sort of this squeaky clean, boring, but exciting list for me. Unrealistic. But the truth is, all the stuff that I had on my list, Angela, of what I thought I didn't want, turned out to be the biggest blessings in my life and in our relationship. I have 3 girls now, not just the 2 I gave birth to. Right. The fact that he was married before is what actually I think made him a better man and more prepared for our marriage, right? Except for when he thought he could tell me how to breastfeed.
No, you did not.
She lied.
Yeah, don't do that, because they're going to come for him.
She lied. Look,
they're
stop.
going to be like,
I've been married before. You're supposed to lift the nipple.
She's basically saying, through my experience, I would try to offer her some suggestions on how to do things in a certain way, because I had been there, done that. That's all that was.
Right.
You ain't never breastfed.
I didn't say nothing about breastfeeding.
Okay. Listen.
Shoot.
But I think that was really great for you guys because part of on the show, I like that you had the podcast as well, because we see the show that's focused more. We see little glimpses of family things, throughout, but we don't get to hear all of that.
Right,
and
right.
I know, Egypt, with your background in radio and DJ Fidel, knowing that you guys have this background as personalities too, where you also get to share, because like you said, it is therapeutic.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's great to have that as a way, Egypt, I know you hate that always, but you're such a great radio personality, and there's not you've made a mark for somebody who has left that world,
14 years ago.
14 years ago. It's still talked about, though.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know what? And same to you. Respect given, respect received. Thank you for that.
I always tell you this. You're like the roadmap to like, okay, let's get from here to here. Because like you're talking about how TV is different now, but radio is different now too. You know,
it's all different.
It's all an adjustment.
I have seen that. So, you know what? Here's what I say. We got to stay flexible.
Right.
And you can't be a one-trick pony. I believe in branding forward. So not just branding for where you are. For instance, you're a business owner. You have multiple businesses yourself. You're doing very well, right? So, but I know it's a hustle. Owning a business is a lot of work. You will never work more, but it's worth it, right? Because at least you're waking up every day and you're doing it for yourself. But what I'm saying is, so the efforts that you're making today, or anyone who owns a business today, shouldn't be for the moment. It should be, where are you going in 5 years or 10 years? And literally everything you're doing in this moment should be for that, not for right now, because this moment changes. We have to be able to evolve and move our business and our lives forward. And so for me, when I was in radio, it was shrinking. This is when they were syndicating everything.
Yeah.
Steve Harvey was
Still
getting
are.
every market in the morning. You know, so jobs were being lost, far and few in between per city. And I'm like, I stood on that unemployment line one time. For $405 a week.
Yep, I remember.
And I said, I will never do this again.
I actually called mine in.
I don't care what I have to do.
I called mine in. I was like, let me call in and get my unemployment. I tell my friends right now, I'm like, get your unemployment. You know, you pay all that money like throughout, you're entitled to that. Like at least let that
go of that pride.
Sometimes people don't want to do that, you know.
Let go of that pride. You have to, you know, because let's speak to that point for a minute, because a lot of folks, especially in entertainment, you know, when they're trying to be business owners, they think it's only the things you see with the glitz and glam.
Right.
They never want to show the, you know, the nitty gritty in the mud, those months that you don't make any money for yourself, but you made money for the business, right?
Yeah.
And you're scared to put it out there. I think what I love about today's market and today's influencers and talent is that they're like, I'm going to be me. I'm going to show you everything.
Yeah.
And that has been winning for them. You know, instead of trying to make the pretty videos, they make the ugly ones, and they do viral, right? And we have to get out of the mindset of it has to be perfect.
Yeah,
Just
you're
start.
right. I mean,
Start with
you
what you
talked
got.
about losing everything and building back up. That was a big topic for you as well, saying once you got divorced, it was kind of, you know, starting all over. Some people also don't want to date when they're in a space of not having it like that.
That's where I was. You know, this was just divine intervention, because I was in a space where I said, I'd be damned if another woman tells me, oh, you're not making enough. What are you doing? I wasn't going through that. I was not going through that. I said, when I'm right mentally, emotionally, financially, then I'll get back out there. And then just so happens to be, I meet her, and then all that was out the door.
And that's what I liked about him. At first, I was like, okay, we can have fun for a little while. Maybe he's not Mr. Right, but we're going to have fun for a little while. But we were on, I can't even say it was a first date, babe, because we had bumped into each other so many times and then started working with each other. But let's just say first official date. On that first official date, we were right there on 43rd Street, right? And what was that name of that restaurant where they serve frog legs?
No, it wasn't frog legs. She put me on fried pickles
and frog legs and stuff like that. Anyway,
tastes like chicken.
Yes. So date's going well, Angela, right? Date's going well. I'm getting a little butterflies in my stomach. We had just come from the movie. He put his arm around me, so I saw he liked me. He was making a move and the whole nine. So I'm feeling something for the first time in a long time, feeling something. And then he sits back across from me. He goes, all right, I got to tell you something. Yeah, and I said, here go the bull.
Yeah,
here it is. What
when
you
a
gonna tell
guy
me?
does that early, you know.
You know, what are you going to tell me? But the fact that he laid out his life, no matter if it was going to embarrass him or not, that turned me on even more. I think I just had never had someone so honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Let
you
me
said,
choose.
we're all like coming with some type of baggage. But we also, I think, and I'm sure men do this too, as women, we have a list of things that we don't want until you're like, oh, and you're in a situation where you're like, okay, maybe I'm wrong for, you know, Xing this out before giving it a chance.
Well, I think I can't speak for every man, but I know I was in a space where I didn't know that full less yet, right? Until you experience some things, you're like, oh, I will never do that again, or I know I don't want that in my life. One of the things I knew I never wanted, I could never be with someone that smoked.
Okay, that's fair.
Right? I know I couldn't.
Cigarettes?
Cigarettes.
Okay, weed is okay.
It was okay.
All right.
That was fine. because it was recreational.
Just asking.
But
because I agree with the cigarettes.
the morning smoking, afternoon, gotta have
whole
my
house
pack
smell
of
like
cigarettes. Like I just couldn't do that. So, and I remember one young female like, "Oh, you gonna miss out on a lot of people." I said, "I guess I will."
Right.
And that was one for me, big pet peeve. But I would say yes, some men do have a list, and those with the level heads do have their wants, their needs, and more so about how they want to be treated.
Right.
Because overall, I can tell every man wants to be respected, right, and not belittled in their relationship or judge or scrutinize, and be able to talk to their partner without feeling like, oh, she's gonna think I'm soft, or she's gonna make me feel less of a man.
Right.
Every man wants that.
You know, I saw when Egypt had did this post about being mannish, and they was but it was a good conversation, because I think as a person, for myself, for instance, I'm used to handling a lot of things myself, right? Because I've been doing this for a long time. I'm always like, no, don't worry, I got this. This is how. And sometimes it's hard when you're a woman who's like been an entrepreneur, been doing things, to let somebody take the wheel a little bit. But I want you guys to discuss that a little.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay.
They was coming for you, Mike.
Here's the deal, and they should come for him, but they should have also watched the entire post and read everything that I said to fully understand what he was trying to convey, right? Like, we have to listen to understand instead of just to respond. So he said to me during a very stressful point in our marriage, he said, you know, this is, and it came from me asking you, are you happy? And I said, babe, are you happy? At this point, we've been married for now, this year, 15 years, but we've been together 21 years. So I think that's an important question for everybody to ask their significant other anyway. Not, do you love me? No, are you happy? Right. Are you still happy? Right. So I asked him, and he paused a little too long. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. You know, bring it out. Don't hold it in. I want to know truly how you're feeling. And he says, I feel that often you're coming off very mannish. And it just that word mannish at first hit me so hard. I was trying to be a big girl, but the tears started coming down my eyes, because I think often Black and brown women, we don't have a choice sometimes but to live in our masculine. It's not that we want to be there, but we feel like we have to live in our masculine because we're up against so much, and there's no time to cry. There's no time. All you got to do is, girl, get up and keep moving. And so I think I had been in that fight or flight all of my life. Right. And I had never really learned what it meant to live in my soft life. So I knew it, but to have him verbalize that after so many years, and I thought I was doing good, you know, I was just like, wow. So then you want to explain what you meant by it.
So the idea of a female hearing mannish, they automatically think, what, aesthetically? What, strength? It has nothing to do with your physical attributes, right? It's just the feeling of, for a man, there's nothing feminine about certain things that you do. For instance, something simple. Babe, we can be at a restaurant. She'll go, babe, watch my purse. And then she'll come back and push the purse back in front of me and say, watch my purse. I'm like, who is going to steal this purse from me with me right here? I got it. You get what I'm saying? So let me close the door. Let me do what you asked me to do. Hey, can you go do this for me? Don't come with me to do it if you just asked me to do it. and so it's that a pattern of small things like that over and over again becomes mannish, because it's something you asked me to do as a man. Let me be the man and do it. But if you never allow me to get in that space, now it's like, okay, this is a turnoff.
And so here's the thing to point out. When you're in a relationship, it's not always going to be love. Right. You know, you're going to go through ebbs and flows just like everything else, just like the economy. Right? We're going to go through, it's ebbing and flowing.
I don't want my relationship to be like this economy right now ever.
But the reality is, when
there's tariffs, there's
right?
when you see couples that have been together 30, 40 years, there's something to learn in that, right? Like, how did you stay together? Not how did you fall in love? You can fall in love, that's easy. How did you stay together? Yeah. So in understanding, seeking to understand where he was coming from, and he explained that, I got it, because I have fallen into a space where we were building. So when you're building, there's a high level of stress. You're telling folks what to do, where to go. You're trying to handle all the logistics. And I was now, again, very high in my masculine, not in my feminine. He understood that it's because we were building and I was in my like grind mode. Not that I wanted to bring that home, but it's hard to turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah.
So when he brought that to my attention, I recognized I wasn't doing as good of a job as I thought I was. And that's not about, hey, dim your light so I can shine.
Right.
No, it's saying more so,
Let me help. Like, let
me
me do
help.
what you asked me to do.
Yes.
Let me
take it off of you.
So you might never have said it if she didn't ask you, if that's
That's not
something you
true.
have been feeling.
No.
Because you've
She-
been feeling it
No.
clearly for a while, and then she asked you, and that's when you
Oh,
really-
I've never said the managed part,
No.
no, but I've requested certain
Okay.
things several times and time again. Yes, and that right there, when you request something, you know, for instance, Joel Osteen had said something before I was driving, and I was like, I'll try that. He was like, you know, just let your partner do whatever you're going to do, and eventually God will take the course. And I was like, okay, God,
What?
it's been about 5 weeks, 5 months, and she hasn't changed these patterns. I'm about to say something, right? So, for instance, managed could also be how you speak to that man, right? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Hey, when's the last time you took the garbage out? You need to take the goddamn garbage out. Now you done got mannish on me, and now we gonna go at it. And when men throw out the mannish, or you're not in your feminine, or you're not in your soft area, it's basically just saying, I'm not being turned on right now.
Okay. It's interesting because the word mannish is also, men shouldn't do that either. You know what
Correct.
I'm saying? Like, don't tell them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I think threw people off. Maybe
Right.
it's
the word manage.
Yeah.
But I think what he meant, again,
Yeah.
listening to understand, what he really meant was you have been very aggressive and bossy. That's what he meant.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of recognizing you're home now, take that jacket off. You nobody's boss around here. You know, take that off. You've been, instead of asking me for things or checking in with me or, you know, being my wife, you're coming in here telling me what to do. And I didn't realize it. But here I am trying to run 3 companies at work, and you get home and you just forget.
Right.
And,
So
and
that's
you guys,
the key.
you guys talk about evolving, and Mike, I know even thinking about smart homes and things like that as the wave of the future.
Yeah.
That's something that's important. Having your line of products and J.C. Penney. I mean, I know you're here in town for that as well. But congratulations on
Thank
all
you.
of those things. And like I
Thank
said,
you.
the podcast and just expanding from being on HGTV. Because my main thing in life is always, if this don't, I want to make sure I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't never want to
Yeah.
feel like if this contract is over, it's
Right.
over for me. I want to
Right.
feel like, all right, well, I'll just focus more on this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a strong believer that if I focus really hard on any business, it's going to do well when I
Right.
have the ability to just, hone in on that. Sometimes I don't have the time to do all the things I want, But the real estate company, how is the real estate business now?
So interesting. I think everybody's seeing the headlines, right? That there's just so much inventory and not enough buyers. Again, ebbs and flows. We've been here before. In my time in real estate, since I used to be on the radio in New York and had my office in Fort Lee, New Jersey, we were right here in that same spot. This is what's going to define those who are the pros and those who are not. You're going to see a lot of people retire from real estate this year just because they don't know what's going on and they don't know how to survive in this. It's really just about shifting, okay? It's a buyer's market now. So what's the name of the game? Get more buyers.
Right.
Market to the buyers. That's how you survive. In a seller's market, what's the name of the game?
Yep.
List you last, right? So it's just about the shift. But the key is having multiple streams of income. You're correct. Never put all your eggs in one basket. So you're a licensed real estate agent. Are you an investor? What other businesses do you own? Do you day trade as well? Like all of these things are what help us grow wealth. And so, yes, I was a radio personality. I was sitting here in another studio, by the way. It was like egg crates on the wall. It was not as nice as this. and after I got that pink slip, one good time, that's all it took for me to recognize I could never be in that position again. And I think everybody can relate to that. That is what defines entrepreneurs for the most part. You ask most entrepreneurs, what made you start? It was the damn unemployment line. One good time. And then you just kind of, it puts the hustle in you,
So now answer her question.
I don't know what was the
How
question.
is the real estate market
You
doing?
already know me in my...
I know. That's why I'm bringing you back. How is the real estate? How is the real estate market in your opinion?
The real estate market, to me, again, is just in an ebb. There will be a correction. Why? Interest rates are just so high right now.
Right.
And there's a lot of uncertainty because of all of the talk and fear mongering in the economy. Again, It's cyclical. You look at the charts. I don't care what's happening in the press. You look at the charts. It's doing what it has always done historically. It's going down. Then it's going to come back up.
Yeah, and you know, from your point of view, Mike, when we think about that too, because we talk about the cost of things now, of lumber, you know, for you having your own, being able to renovate people's homes, and even finding workers has, from what I'm hearing, has been challenging. What's it been like for you?
So my crews have been around with me for some time, so I haven't had issues there. However, I do know of some companies that have lost men to DEI, to immigration. I mean, ICE pulling them out of there.
Because also,
that's
and
really
to
happening.
be clear, with ICE too, sometimes people are scared, even if they're here and they're supposed to, because they're rolling programs back where people were able to stay and did things the right way, and they're still neglecting that. They're also saying, "Oh, this doesn't count anymore. We're shutting this program down," and people are scared.
There's a lot of guys that will work in the companies and they will still do their own thing, like stand out in front of Home Depot to get some work. Just last week in an area in South Fulton, they literally lined up about 30 guys and took them in, you know.
That's so sad.
Which is unfortunate. They were real workers, legally here. So they're dealing with that, right? But with regard to lumber and things like that, we've seen an increase in supplies as far as tariffs. So we have to take that in consideration when you're doing quotes for properties or work.
Right.
And it makes a difference. However, there hasn't been a big punch in our area. We've been thriving.
Okay,
so
that's
we haven't
great.
felt the impact as of yet.
And, you know, I've been watching the show because, you know, I'm always fascinated by renovations to see, like, what the plan is, you know, what are they about to do? And a lot of times as homeowners, you're making a decision to stay within your budget. You know, am I going to custom paint these cabinets, or am I going to have to neglect that so I can get the tiles I want in my bathroom? And that's why I think it's also really great to have people who have relationships, sometimes even being able to get the tiles that are going to be hard for people to get, as long as you know people who are able to pull those in and source them.
Relationships are big in this business, big time. I mean, in that same business, construction business, real estate business. Speaking of real estate, I just saw an article where they said that 30% of the African American family has been thriving a lot more when it comes to the purchasing of properties. Did y'all see that?
No,
I did not see that article.
Look it up. It's amazing.
I love that.
It's amazing, and it caught my attention. I said, okay, that's good news in real estate. So it's something to look out for, because a lot of people think they can't do it.
Oh no, you're right.
They're feeling like I just can't afford it. I'm not going to do it. So they won't even try.
I have a whole real estate club dedicated to helping people, like, make sure they get into it. What would you tell? There's a lot of people that are like, I want to do some fix and flips, right? But it's not as easy as it sounds. So
why isn't it?
Well, because I think sometimes I've had people come to me be like, okay, don't spend your, like, they'll want to buy something and they think that it's going to be on schedule. A lot of times it's not, you know, just to be honest, because with my own experiences and other people's, a lot of times it's not. You have to be able to have a little bit of wiggle room, you know, for certain things. And I also tell people, like, some people will put, like, their last dollars into something and not have reserves left over, because sometimes things don't happen. It costs what you think it is. You have to go back and fix something that somebody didn't do properly, or you rip that wall open, you find that it's worse than you thought it was. I mean, there's permit issues. There's neighbors that you can't account for that are going to be calling the cops and delaying your project. There's so many things that I think factor in that you also have to be flexible enough to say, if things don't happen on schedule, how can I adjust and make sure? That's why I always like to tell people, if you don't feel like you're ready, I don't ever want anybody to put themselves in a position where, you know, it can be extremely stressful, or they could even lose a property.
I was 23 years old, didn't have a lot of money. I think I had about $32,000 in savings in the bank.
That sounds like a lot back then.
It does sound like a lot, but not when you're buying a house and having to renovate it. You know, that money goes really fast, right? So I bought a house, multifamily, in Newark, New Jersey. This was my first flip house. Had to replace the waistline, paint, was tarring the roof, you know, doing all these things. And that money went fast. It was definitely scary. But for what I purchased the house for, I sold it for $225,000.
That's amazing.
Profit. Do you see, like, will you gamble?
Yeah.
Will you take a calculated risk? I mean, don't make silly risk.
And
definitely do the numbers, right? Make sure the numbers work. I'm going to get a t-shirt to say, if the numbers don't work, neither do I. But if you have the formula, and you have a coach, and always use the rule of 3. Have 3 quotes on everything. Therefore, if one team fails you, you can replace them. And then also never pay somebody the money all up front,
because
right?
they will be bye.
Yeah, do it on draws.
That's
do
potential,
it on 3 draws or 4 draws. That way
Sometimes
you can monitor.
If you can pay directly for things, like if you can, I'll purchase the stuff from Home Depot that you need.
Yeah.
That's helpful. That can be helpful too. But I also think for first time people doing it, sometimes they don't have a team. And, so you're trying to like take referrals and find people to do stuff. You're Googling stuff. You're going, and that can also be challenging too.
But it's easier today because now you can go on Facebook
Get
and
some
look
reviews.
up real estate groups. You can look up builder groups.
Yep.
You can look for contractors. You can go in Instagram. You can go on Threads and just say, hey, I'm looking for contractors in this area or whatever. You can do that and get referrals. Look for groups and communities that are like-minded. We didn't have that,
Yeah,
when
you
we
read
started
about
out.
that because so the reason I started the real estate club was to be able to have there's people in the club that are like appraisers, like all kinds of people in different places. So if you're like, this didn't work out, can somebody help me with this? There's somebody that could jump in and be like, okay, we got you. We're in the group together.
That's
so
dope.
And I love that.
The name of the game now is buy land, though. You understand that. There's so much money to be made in land without even having to build on it, without having to develop on it at all. You can literally just buy the land and lease it to someone else who's farming it.
Yep.
Buy the land and lease it to someone else who's putting a billboard on it. Buy the land, lease it to someone that's putting a gas station on it. Whatever it is, buy the land. Go get these things at the auctions.
Right.
Right now you can in certain areas use a USDA new construction loan, which allows for you to buy the land with 0% down.
Yep.
Then because you have the land, get a new construction loan against it, and you purchased it for, you were able to literally build on USDA land for 0.
Right. Look, see,
There's
make
always
sure you're
a way.
listening to these
Yeah.
codes of how to get things done.
Yeah.
Now, Egypt, I also want to talk about, I've been listening to the podcast, like I said, and you discussed finding out that you had lupus and doctors not even knowing what was wrong with you and then taking this trip to Bali. I want to hear more about this trip to Bali.
Wow. How
and
much
this,
time this is a
great trip
podcast, so
to
you don't have to
Bali.
cut me off, right?
Yeah, listen. Well, it might not all make it on air, but
Exactly.
it will
Right,
be
but it'll all be
on
on
the podcast. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the holistic approach, because I'm all for that too, right?
Sure.
I believe in working alongside doctors with holistic things that you can also do and researching that because I'm so big on, I don't take medicine if I don't have to. I have a headache. I'm figuring out what is it that I need to do to get rid of my headache and not have to take actual, medicine, whatever
Right
it is
there
that I
with you.
can do. So talk to me about what that experience is like, because I have to imagine that it was life-changing.
Sure. So, number one, to understand what lupus is, it's an autoimmune disease. Many things can trigger it. Some people are literally born with it and it lies dormant in their body, but comes out in the most stressful of times. I didn't find out I had lupus until I was in my 40s, which I still am, by the way, so don't get
Period.
smart. But, but no, I had Harper, and I was always sick. I would literally just wake up in the middle of the night and feel like I couldn't breathe. My neck was inflamed, or my stomach was all of a sudden blown out to here, and I had rashes on my back or on my face. And I'm like, Mike, I must have had an allergic reaction to something. He would almost on a weekly basis rush me to the hospital, but they could never find anything, And that's the thing is that you'll have a trigger, and you'll have a response, and you'll have this huge lupus moment or outbreak. And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, be fine.
Right.
You'll have days where you wake up. I will have days where I wake up and I'm like, Mike, I just can't move today. I'm in so much pain. Everything hurts. And then days where I feel like I could take on the world. And that is really, it's a roller coaster of a life for your health. But lupus, and what that does to your body, it causes inflammation as a whole, causes so many things to go wrong, throughout. So I felt like I was on high alert, just red alert all the time. He'll tell you, I have to watch what I eat, strip everything down.
Right.
And it has been a very difficult time, but I feel like don't you, babe, feel like I really rose to it with alternative forms of medicine, which
you've come you've come a long way, very long way.
we don't learn about it here in
Right,
the US.
I agree.
But just as vigorous as we are about chasing wealth and chasing joy, we have to be about chasing answers for our own health, right? If not for us, for our kids, for for our parents, whomever. So I started learning about alternative forms of medicine and alternative types of doctors. Functional medicine doctors. That's something you don't hear too much. Have you heard that?
No,
What
functional
a
medicine.
functional medicine. So when you get sick, Let's say you think it's your heart, you go to a cardiologist. If
Right.
it's your stomach, you go to a GI, specialist. But who sits down and evaluates everything and how the entire body is functioning together? Have you ever said, like, I just wish I can get all 5 of my doctors together to talk?
At one time.
Because I feel like I'm
All the
chasing
specialists, let's
answers
just do
and
this one
tests.
time.
Yeah. So what a functional medicine doctor does is they look at the whole body, the meridians in your body, and they have things like alpha thermography that look at disturbances in the body as well. They'll read your body with herbs, and bottom line is find a functional medicine doctor. So we traveled to Bali. It was really like a spiritual quest as well, but I wanted to see this doctor that I was told about there. Her name was Dr. Bobby.
Right.
Let me say something. This lady's like in her 90s, and she could run faster than all of us put together.
I believe it.
And
Because she run faster than Cat Williams. Is a question.
Right.
but I laid down in her hut. Literally, we had to go. We were out in the middle of I don't know what, and we lay down. And she's like a medical medium, and she read my entire body. She told me what was going on. Mike was sitting there like, this is insane that she knows this much about you, and you have not said anything. You just laid on her table. So she found a doctor for me back home. I've been going to that, but then I also learned about a few things. There's a machine that I invested in called the Shireen, and it reads the body's light and frequency. We've been learning that. You've been seeing this all over social media about frequency healing, vibrational healing,
Yes.
that it's killing things like cancer and what have you. But this knowledge, this technology has been known in other parts of the world already. I got this machine from Denmark, you know? And so you sit down, it reads your circulatory system, your respiratory system. It reads everything together, and it literally will tell you, hey, tooth T15, has a problem, and that's why you're experiencing the issue in your ankle.
Oh, damn.
It's connected to the meridian. Tooth T3 now is why you have the headache that runs down in the middle of your head. Do you see what I mean? Here we treat the symptom. If we get a headache, we take an aspirin, not knowing that the head is connected to the gut and the
Right.
stomach. So really, if you get a headache, you should be treating your gut. So I got all into these alternative forms of medicine, and ultimately found out that my lupus was brought on by the healthy foods that I ate every day. I was having a fight or flight response to things like broccoli
Oh, wow.
and cucumbers. Why? Because of the pesticides.
That's wild. That's why sometimes you travel to other countries
Yeah.
and you're like, this is amazing.
Yep.
Like, and the stuff that we allow here that they don't allow when you go other places
Yeah.
is wild.
Yeah. Big
Yeah.
difference. Big
Man, I
difference.
love, and so does that change like everything at home for the girls, how they eat? Because I know that's a household thing too.
Yeah, it has gotten me into farming, smart farming and growing. I have a whole herb garden and I have a vegetable garden just because, for my own health, I have to get myself, our body does have the ability to heal itself when we feed it the right things and we stop poisoning it. So I had to get that together and then said, things aren't getting better in the world, they're getting worse. I need my girls, we got to go back to our roots, to like what Nana used to do, growing stuff in the backyard. I need
Yeah.
my girls to know how to do this as well so that they can take care of their bodies as
That's
they grow
amazing.
up. It has changed things. And I get on their damn nerves because I'm chasing them like, don't you eat that Jolly Rancher.
Like we get these Flintstone vitamins.
I'm always stripping the house. He brings the junk in and I'm like, Mike, I'm taking the junk. I throw it out. Yeah.
You lying, Craig.
Am I lying?
You lying,
Am I
Craig.
lying? All that candy you stashed up on the 4th shelf in the pantry?
That was years ago.
Don't even try.
don't
it.
bring
That
up
was
old
years
stuff.
ago.
Mambas.
Look at the
Don't bring up
go
old
look at the
stuff.
Got a
expiration
whole
date.
Mamba stash in the car.
You should see our vending machine here. Every day I come in here like determined to not do it, and then I'm like, let me get a little snack from the vending machine. Now, Mike, there was one episode that oh man, I hate to keep on agreeing with Egypt, but there was one episode on Married to Real
Where
Estate.
you going with it?
Okay, so there was a closet you guys were doing, and it was in the bedroom. It's beautiful. Like this was a amazing remodel, but there was a little corner space.
You know who
that
this is?
And by
Let
the
her finish.
window,
Lily and Ray.
that kind
I
of
know where
didn't
she
make
goes.
sense.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, if you could just move the closet over 12 inches and then they could use this space. And you was like, look, we don't put this, we framed it out already. We did this. And I was like, man, I was thinking to myself, because I actually had to move the wall for the closet in my room.
Yeah.
And I hated having to go to my contractor and let him know that. But I came in there. So in my bedroom, there's a fireplace, right? and the closet is like right next to the bedroom, but it wasn't even on both sides, and it was this not being symmetrical, and I wanted my bedroom a little bigger, so I was like, I need them to move, and I had to move the wall over, and I was like,
okay.
it looked cute though. Y'all put a plant there and
Where you going, Ange? Where you going?
I wanted to put a desk. You saw it. Like, it was an opportunity to put a desk over there, right? Or put a settee over there or something. But he told me no.
But how do we approach when it comes time to, like, let's just say things are done, and sometimes we do. I think a majority, nobody's going to stick to the plans 100%, right? I think most clients are going to want to change things. What is your approach when it comes to that?
At the end of the day, it's whatever the client wants.
Okay, as long
and
as
whatever
they pay,
their budget can suffice. You feel what I'm saying? So I don't care what you want to do. But in the circumstance that you saw on TV, this one here as a designer, so she'll design for days and hours, right? But if the client has already seen it and approved it, I can't move beyond that. You know, no matter how great the idea is. And what you all saw on TV, you know, the angle of the camera
Don't even try it.
made it look more than what it was. It was turned into a prayer corner. Put some pillows over there and la, all of that. But
But
the way
that clash happens a lot, right? The design with the work that you have to do.
yeah, it happens a lot. What happens is it looks great on paper, but then in the physical space is totally different, right? Even once you start building, you're like, ooh, this looks too big or this is smaller than we thought, right? Now, if we catch it before things start getting closed up, I'm all for it. Let's do it. Again, if the client approves it.
Right.
But if it's one of those circumstances where the designer and the client just speak to each other and the client says, do whatever you want, and the designer then comes to us and says, let's move it, and I'm like, okay, whatever you want. Now, I'm getting paid every time you switch it. It's a change order.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm okay with it. However, but once it becomes to where, okay, we have a time limit, and you said we have to meet that time limit, are you sure you definitely want to do this? Let's talk about it because it's going to cost you X, Y, and Z. Go back to the table and think about it. Call me tomorrow because a lot of it is made right there in the moment.
See,
right?
Angela, you just stirred up some mess and you know
I know,
it.
like,
You did.
sorry.
I'm just going to say quiet.
I'm over here being mannish. No,
Rest in your feminine. Rest.
And let's talk about Indigo for a second. You know, Indigo Road, and I want to discuss like the partnership with JCPenney, how that came about. You know, what we can expect because I'm really excited for that. I always feel like when I'm looking for things for the home, it's really hard to find things that feel like me sometimes. And, you know, you're like, oh, why is it so hard to find like amazing home goods?
Right.
So, you know, Indigo Road is our family of companies. So we had the real estate brokerage, a design firm, our virtual design as well, and then we have the line of products as well. So this is our newer baby, the line of products. We had the home furnishings, but now JCPenney's essentially wanted a capsule line that was exclusive for JCPenney. So if you go to Indigo Road or Amazon or Wayfair, you'll see more of the pieces
seen it on Wayfair.
of the whole line. But JCPenney was like, we want something special that's just for us that people can only get at our store. So we have a capsule line. What you see when you go to JCPenney's, you won't see nowhere else. So
that's amazing.
And it's in 300 plus stores, which has been a journey, but it's amazing. So, you know, we need to make a statement. We talk about, hey, we want to see Egypt, like we want y'all to stay on TV. We want to, you know, see more of our faces and people like, you know, like us and young folks doing things. And well, then we got to get out and support.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth of it. If we want more opportunities for ourselves and for our kids as they grow up, then we have to put our money where our mouth is. And that's the end of the day. The only way that we show our power, true power, is economically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do ask that everybody get out and support. And it's not going to disappoint. The line really is beautiful.
I've seen it, and you use it in some of the renovations that you guys do.
And I'm going to send you some, too.
Yeah.
You pick what you want off the line. But since you said you got to do your bedroom, just tag me on social media.
Listen, and that's important, too, though. Those tags on social media mean a lot when you buy the products and just tag it. Yeah. Or when you're watching the show and you're like, you guys check this out. Who do you agree with here?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Makes a big difference in this day.
And lastly, you know, I wanted to talk about the New York Times article, and I saw you saying how hard, like you always are having to prove yourself. And that really upsets you, and I can't blame you. Like it's exhausting when you're doing the thing, you're having success, and then here comes, you know, oh, well, they only breezed in and breezed out because it's TV.
Right.
And so sometimes people will think that, like, this isn't real. Are they really doing this renovating? Are they really doing this designing? Or are they coming in as married couple and putting on, it's acting for TV and they're not really involved?
Right.
Listen, we've been very blessed. Here's what I want to say. If everything were to come to an end today, this doesn't end. The businesses don't end.
Right.
What you see doesn't end. It just means, oh, you're not seeing it on TV and you're not getting the same press. And that's okay because we've been doing this for years before, right? But what's frustrating are just when people, and we see this a lot, right? Because we have social media influencers who you just picked up a phone and now you're an influencer without truly researching. There are folks out there that are not the real deal. There are people out there who are not licensed. There are folks out there who don't have a business, but they just got a break, right? Pick on them.
Yeah.
but like literally for us, it was just about, and I don't even want to talk about the publication or the journalist because it's really not about that. It's just an implication of the broader issue at hand, is that I do feel that Black talent is under attack.
Yeah.
We are. It's always going to be harder for us. We always got to work that much harder, have to be that much more credentialed. We always have to, be that much more professional. And it's going to be a longer road because some folks just have to show up. We got to do the work.
Yeah.
And I've been,
above and beyond, do the work. For instance,
I've been on HGTV for 15 years. And it has been an amazing journey, but it has not been without challenges, of course, and not necessarily of the network as much as sometimes, just the public being ready for change or being ready to see someone that doesn't look like them doing things that they're surprised I should be doing. Like, who do you think you are to have a furniture line? Who do you think you are to have these businesses? Who do you think you are to have a happy family and marriage? And it's like, we're just trying to live our best life. Period. And what I want is for other little Black and brown girls to grow up and boys to grow up and say, I know I can do this because I saw them do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if we don't see the images of ourselves reflected and people don't respect the equity of what it means to have that representation as well and give the same opportunities and tell the true narrative, the whole narrative.
Yeah.
Then what it really does, it keeps our community marginalized, which is why we feel a true responsibility to show up and be authentic and do right by people. Because if we mess up and misstep,
forget it.
It messes it up for a whole nother generation.
And everybody will know about it.
Yeah.
If something happens, your name is on the line, and it's different when you're known in that way. It's funny because I also think who writes an article and how it's presented. I remember this is so long ago, but this publication did an article about like my shoe closet. I had all these shoes, and I used to love to like buy shoes. That was like the little treat I would give myself. And the way they wrote the article was like, she don't own a home, but she has shoes. Wow. What a waste. But then, like literally a month later, they had a white woman in there with her shoe closet. And they were like, wow, she has the most envious shoe closet. And I was like, well, damn, she don't own no home either. But the way that they presented both of us, right, where was it like I was some irresponsible person?
But they'll stop on that, though. Why was that okay? Let that marinate for me.
It bothered me so much at the time, too.
I'm sure it did. Just like it bothered me. And there were some people who couldn't understand why I got so upset that Mike was left out of the press or that my picture was used in an article that was bashing the network. And they were like, why are you so upset? It's just publicity. I'm like, because it would have never happened to someone that doesn't look like me. The problem is Black women are unprotected. We are. We're disrespected often and violated because it's thought that who's going to protect them? We can, and so that hurts so deeply only because all we do is pour our heart and soul in. But not just that, not for ourselves. And you see it. We're in the community. We're literally, we have nonprofits. We're literally giving back. Like we're literally, with everything we're doing, giving back when the cameras are off.
Yeah.
So it cut deeply because we know what it takes for us just to show up, just to be able to have some of these opportunities. And we were so excited for them to come to set, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were like, oh my God, we went all out. Like we bought lunch. You know what I mean? I had a makeup artist. I was like, I can't go on set looking crazy. I'm going to be in the newspaper. We were so excited and welcoming. Like when the journalists came, we did like a big round of applause, and he was there for the interview and took the photos with me. So that's why it cut deep, because it's like, you could have easily just said something nice or not said anything at all. And showed
Right.
up at
You're
all.
right.
Why attack me?
Because
That
when I
hurt.
watch the show, I can clearly see and hear, like, when you guys, I can see that y'all are very expertise in your business, know exactly what you're talking about. And I know people who have worked with you. So
Right.
we can see that. Hopefully this Angela Bassett thing comes through.
Hey, Miss Bassett. That was an honor. It really was.
Follow
Angela
through.
Bassett, you hear this? You know,
Right.
you know who needs to go and help you with your redesign or
Right.
Well, not for nothing. It was, for me, what did it. It didn't matter if I never see her again. It was like, I showed up to support the movie. And you know, often, this is a good example, even like with what you're doing, we don't know who's paying attention. You're just doing what you love. You show up every day, Angela, you do your shows and you're creating impact, but you don't know how many people know who you are
Right.
and actually are fans. So I think that was a perfect example of how we're fanning over someone else who's created impact in our life, like Angela Bassett, girl.
Right.
Oh my God. And then I was like, I just want to see her. That's all. I had no idea she's going to walk by me and scream and run back and grab me. I was like, I love you. And I'm like, but
you're like, well,
I love you. You
And
know?
I had just left to park the car.
oh my God. Cut out of the situation.
So
Damn it.
it was a reminder. It's a reminder. That's all.
I know
know,
you were like, Mike,
yeah.
guess what you just missed?
Like, literally, I walked back. They was
did.
like, we just did this. I was like,
I said, boy, you
and she,
missed
meanwhile,
it.
she was pushing me. Go move the car before we get a ticket. Go move the car before we get a ticket. Look, see?
You owe him. But honestly, congratulations on an amazing fourth season.
Thank you.
You guys, I mean, it's been fun for me to watch because, you know, every time we talk, I'm so into watching home renovations. I'm into the podcast. I'm into anybody who's in this media world to see the way that you guys, I think the way that you guys have this background already and being able to just so eloquently speak to people. When you work with people in their homes, for them to have cameras come in and feel comfortable, that's a big deal.
Yep.
You know, for people to trust you to be like, you know, you should do this or you should try this. That's not an easy thing to do. You know, for years now, I've been trying to help my parents redo their home and they will not allow it. I've been trying imagine somebody tells you your child is like, look, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to take care of it for you. And they won't let you. That's wild to me because if somebody was like.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
We did his mom's house.
Yeah. Well, not only that, my mother's in a space now where she's like, I got it. I'll have my time when you can pamper me. Right. And that's a bigger story, but I know exactly how that feels.
Yeah, so you're
big
like,
time.
come on, let me help you. So what's on the vision board now?
Ah, interesting. Vacation.
Facts.
We're about headed to Rome and Greece for a couple of weeks. We need a break,
Yeah.
Angela.
And
So
I know you're still going to be working, looking at stuff like, oh, that's amazing. We can use it.
no, we're getting ready. Yesterday, we were planning for collection 2 for JCPenney. So we're working on that.
Yep.
Expanding the empire and the brand, but also ownership.
Right.
You know, because that's the thing at the end of the day. If we talk about, hey, we want to be able to control the narrative. We never want to find ourselves on an unemployment line again. And we want to be able to build legacy businesses. And it's all about ownership.
Yes.
So, yeah.
The goal is also, we've been toying around with the possibility of branching out into the author field. She's already author. I'm author, but coming out with a book, right? We've had some takes on possible movie.
Oh, wow.
We toyed around with it. We toyed
Tell me
around
more
with
about
it.
You
this.
just saying stuff.
I'm
No,
not
tell
just
me
saying
more.
stuff.
Tell me
I'm putting it
about
out into the
this.
atmosphere. No, I'm putting it out into the atmosphere.
We talked about it, and we've had offers
that's
to do
what
some
I'm
things,
saying.
But you're not supposed to talk about it until it's ready.
I'm putting it out to the universe.
No, you have to. That's what
I'm
vision
putting it
boarding
out to
is
the
about,
universe.
you
She
know
said
what I'm saying?
vision board. See?
You wanted a Michael Jackson, you got him.
I
Ba-
did.
Boom,
Girl,
boom,
bam.
boom.
I married him.
But we're working on more episodes of the podcast, which is Marriage for Money podcast, right? We're extending that. My cologne line, Ovation for Men, the fragrance, my partners and I, we're getting ready to extend that. We have it available on Amazon. We're looking to branch out with Jackson Draper Renovations as well,
great.
because, a lot of folks are like, do you have anybody in Charlotte? Do you have anybody
yeah,
in
people
California?
need
Do you
that.
have it? So we're going to actually, Mark and I, we're going to go to each and every one of these places to be able to refer reputable clients.
That's a big
reputable
deal.
contractors to our clients.
Mike's List, not Craigslist,
Yeah.
but Mike's List.
Nice list. We like that.
So with regard to the show, though, make sure you tune into, you can stream our show on HBO Max.
Yep.
You can get it on Discovery Plus, literally right now. We found out we're also on Roku,
Okay.
HGTV Go.
You said we found out.
We didn't know.
But Wednesdays at 9.
Well, the season just ended.
Ended, yeah,
Season
so
just
it was
ended.
not
That's
Wednesdays
why
at 9.
you can
You
watch it
gotta
on
watch it
there.
on demand
You
or
got to
stream
watch
it.
it on
You
demand.
gotta stream it. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have all those. I have HBO Max. That's how I can watch. But
you
I was
go.
watching it in real time, so. All right, well, good. Well, go
Thank
back
you.
and rewatch those episodes. If anything, you'll come up with some great ideas. When you see it, the transformations, it's always like, damn, how'd they do that? That's the big reveal is always it for me.
Thank
A
you.
movie theater in the basement. You
And,
know,
and you know, this is all self-taught. I didn't go to design school. It was from flipping houses, all the houses, and wanting to cut out the middleman and just learning design and watching YouTube videos and having a husband that's a contractor, making a lot of mistakes on our own house. So-
yeah, that's a good guinea pig.
Yeah, so that's why what I'm saying is like, here you are
Yeah.
on your path. You can do this too. Anybody listening, if this is what you want to do, you can do it too.
Yeah.
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 Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. I always appreciate and love seeing y'all both.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Boo.
Angela.